Our political analyst Simon Young is with us in the studio. Simon, there were many demonstrations in many cities in East Germany 30 years ago. Why is the demonstration in Leipzig considered to have been so important?
I think mainly because of the numbers involved. There had been demonstrations in other places, of course, before this, and there had been some organised opposition in East Germany for many years. But on the 9th of October 1989, you had 70,000 people who dared to come out on the streets shouting, "We are the people," facing up to the security forces. Also, a couple of courageous journalists managed to film those wobbly pictures of it that we saw in that report, and they were shown on West German TV the next day. So this was something that the East German regime couldn't ignore or sort of keep quiet.
How much courage did it take to demonstrate publicly against the East German regime back then?
I think it took plenty of courage. People talk about the real sense of fear that they had that something might happen. Lots of extra police soldiers had been brought in. Armed men in uniform had been seen, being brought in on the motorways in the days before because it was known that this demonstration was going to happen. Another thing is that just a few months previously, the communist regime in China had crushed the rebellion there in Beijing, the so-called Tiananmen Square massacre. And indeed, the East German Communist government had sent messages of support to the Chinese communists. So there really was a real fear that something similar could happen in East Germany.
Among the many groups that participated in these demonstrations, Christian religious groups were very prominent. Tell us more about their role in those demonstrations.
Yeah, well, both the Protestant and Catholic churches were tolerated in East Germany, and they used their position to an extent to support dissidents usually in a sort of non-confrontational, quiet way, for instance, by holding peace prayers and so on. In fact, peace prayers have been held in the Nikolaikirche, the St. Nicholas Church in Leipzig, which will be a main focus today, since 1982. So this was something that had been brewing. At the same time, the sort of structured nature of the churches, of course, allowed surveillance by the security services. And indeed, on the 9th of October 1989, the church was so full of Stasi agents that it was quite difficult for real dissidents actually to get in there.
Simon, thank you so much. Our political analyst, Simon Young.